Superflat, the infamous game mode in which the normal world is replaced with endless, featureless plains, only to be interrupted by the odd, isolated village. This liminal landscape poses great challenges for those trying to conquer it, requiring methods some would deem unusual. But this isn't a story about Minecraft. In a parallel world, a Terrarian faces a similar challenge. Can the evil in his lands be conquered? Instead of a crafting table, there's a workbench. Instead of a village, there's a dungeon. And instead of a dragon, there's a god. The makeup of my world is as close to Minecraft's classic Superflat as possible. So that's 1 layer of grass on 3 layers of dirt, and all in a forest biome. The only structures in classic Superflat are surface villages. There's no direct equivalent in Terraria, but there is something very close. The dungeon, once itself a thriving city, it now sits on the surface of the world, long abandoned. There'll be no world hopping, no major glitches, and no mods this playthrough. Oh, and also in keeping with the Minecraft parallels, I'll begin with no starting items. The first thing I want to get is a pickaxe, though without any crafting stations, we have very few options here. There's the bone pickaxe, dropped by undead miners, but these only spawn in the Caven lair, which we currently can't get to. Another drop is a candy cane pickaxe, from presents at Christmas. And, well, there are 2 problems here. Firstly, well, it's not Christmas. And secondly, it's just an incredibly rare drop. Plus, given we have no means of doing damage right now, this also isn't feasible. So is this run just dead on arrival then? Well, almost, but not quite. You see, the thing that saves us and lets us get a pickaxe is the current date. At the time I'm recording this, it's the 14th of October. Now, bear with me here. So from the 10th to the 31st, the Halloween event runs in game. This is mainly just visual changes, but also includes a few gameplay ones. One being that pumpkins can spawn naturally on grass blocks in the forest biome. Pumpkins have a furniture set, and with a furniture set, we can make a house. And with a house, we can get the merchant, who for the small price of 30 copper will sell us a pickaxe. So that's the plan then. Pumpkins for a pickaxe. The next problem we then need to solve is, how are we going to break the pumpkins, given we have no tools? Now, at first, when planning this, the only way I could think of was if I could get the guide to kill a slime with a bomb in it and then use this bomb to harvest pumpkins. But thankfully, it's a lot easier than that, as fully grown pumpkins can be harvested simply by placing a block over them. So all we need then is a block. And, well, I think the simplest block we can place is my own gravestone. Nice. Just an aside, if you're wondering about the confetti, it's because this world is on the Celebration secret seed. I'll get into why later. So this should craft into 2 pumpkin platforms. Then if we use one of these to harvest the next one, perfect. So we now have an infinite source of blocks, pre-pickaxe. We're not softlocked here, are we? However, to spare my embarrassment, for the second time already, death solved a problem, and I waited out the night. I've made this too small. Can we fix it here? No. Let's go again then. My third attempt to build a valid house on a game I've played for over 1,000 hours was successful. But I forgot to record it. I promise this is something I am capable of. So we now have all the furniture for a valid house. For the merchant to move in though, we still need a light source. The dungeon will have water candles, but we can't break those. So the plan is to stay here and to try to get one from a slime. There's a 5% chance a slime spawns with an item in it, and a further 6% chance it's torches. My plan here is to use a guide to kill slimes for me. But given his slow rate of getting kills, plus the relative low drop rate, this could take a while. So it's been 2 days and still no sign of a torch slime. And I'm still significantly off the 50 silver requirement we'll also need to meet for the merchant. I'm also not doing this grind during the night, as I can't risk the guide dying. After a third day of incredibly slow progress and no sign of a torch slime, I had an idea. So I don't think we need to be using the guide to kill slimes, as I think we can get a weapon. Forest biome, gravestone, no requirements. Yeah, perfect. The weapon I was looking at was a summoning one, Abigail's Flower. These spawn rarely by gravestones, on grass, and in a forest biome. So perfect for this challenge. I think it's just a case of whether we need a pickaxe to break it or not, but let's risk it. So now for the second time in this run, I was having to make use of my own gravestone. We've got one. Can we harvest it with a block? Perfect. With Abigail allowing me to kill slimes at a much faster rate, I got 50 silver in no time. After, well, a bit more time. Oh, there it is. Perfect. That's the house, and we've got the money. Now we wait. Perfect. Let's get a few more essentials. The scythe is going to be a key item for us here. Getting hay blocks from grass is a very fast source of blocks, and importantly, it's renewable. I'll go more into it in a bit. We're going to need a lot of blocks quite soon. So now we have our pickaxe. The next thing I'm going to do is head to the dungeon, in the hope of some freebies. You can enter the dungeon and descend down to the underground lair before the dungeon guardian spawns. This gives us a chance to find two things: a water bolt from a bookshelf and a surface dungeon chest found above the level where the guardian spawns. Now, a water bolt will be nice, but it's not essential. What really matters for this run is the contents of the chest and, well, in fact, whether there even is a chest. A surface dungeon chest rolls from the same loot table as a normal surface chest, with one difference: it will always contain a golden key. The key's not really what we care about though. The two most important items the chest can contain are wood at a 50% chance and metal bars, also a 50% chance. Both of these items would be incredibly useful, and as you'll see, whether we get both, one, or none will impact how the whole rest of the run plays out. For example, if we don't get wood, then fishing is then locked behind Skeletron. Doesn't look like a water bolt then. I do wonder if they didn't port across when I pasted the dungeon in. There's our chest, and there's the underground, so we might need some fast fingers here. Okay, no spawn. Nice, we've got the wood. Probably the most important of the two. No bars though, which will make things harder. Let's just check if the guardian will spawn. Ah yeah, cool. Looks like the dungeon is working then at least. So as I touched on, the most important thing we can make from this wood is a fishing pole. And well, the next thing I want to do is start fishing, which in this world is going to be, well, pretty complex. There'll probably be water in the dungeon. They're sometimes in traps, but as we've seen, it's currently not in our reach, and we're far, far away from a Skeletron fight. So what's the plan then? Well, you see, I'm going to use lava, but trick the game into thinking it's water. There's currently a bug where, if you fish in lava less than 1 block deep, the game will think it's water, with the things you fish up reflecting that. This means we can fish up all the standard crates, with all the ores and bars and accessories they contain, without a drop of water. But how are we going to get the lava without a bucket? Well, this world is an expert mode, and in expert mode, lava slimes drop lava upon death. So the plan then is to head to the underworld, make somewhere to fish, and then kill lava slimes until we have enough lava. Now, this sounds okay on paper, but in reality, it's going to be a brutal grind. I've done some testing, and the surface we fish on has to be about 100 blocks wide to give us enough area to make fishing viable. This means we need to kill about 70 lava slimes to get enough lava to fill it. And, well, with our gear, that's not going to be fun at all. Okay, so before all that, let's get to the underworld. Nice. Okay, that should be long enough. Yeah, we're gonna have to build some kind of safe spot, I think. Nice. So we should be able to use Abigail here. Okay, so I'm getting a few kills, but at an extremely slow pace. I think the problem we have here is the slime spawns are being crowded out by other underworld mobs. Now, most monsters can't spawn in lava, but I do have a theory, albeit with no evidence, that maybe lava slimes are an exception. That's, well, made of lava. So let's give that a go. Results from my theory were inconclusive at best, and I continued at a glacial pace. So because Abigail deals damage so slowly, I think the fastest way to roll new spawns is to relog and then come back down to hell, resetting the spawns manually. Yes, my process now is to wait for 3 to 4 spawns, and if none are lava slimes, I just relog and try again. $33, so we're almost halfway. If my testing was correct, we'll need another 35 or so. Just looking visually, it does look about half full, so we should be on track. That's 50. That should speed things up at least. That should be 70. So if our calculations were correct, we should be able to fish now. Okay, let's see if this works. We're getting quite a lot of junk here, but that's to be expected. And we've got a fish. Perfect. That's a big relief. Okay, so now this is up and running, what's the plan? Well, we're looking to fish up crates, which contain a variety of items of use to us. Now, getting a double jump, or boots at this point, will be great, but our first main aim is going to be getting iron bars, and specifically 3. This is because we want to make a bucket. A bucket will allow us to create an infinite lava source, meaning 1, we can increase the volume of our faux water, and 2, we can move it to a different place. Being able to do both of these things will be crucial for progression this run. I don't think these really have the fishing power. I think if we head above ground again to get worms and then make them into enchanted night crawlers, it should just make this a lot faster. Iron ore. Iron skin potion. After getting several iron adjacent items on my next crate, I got the real thing. Nice. Perfect. So as mentioned, we can now fish anywhere, and the first place I'm going to go is not the forest biome or even the ocean biome, despite the useful items I can get there. But no, my first port of call is going to be space. I'll explain why in a bit, but first let's get this set up. Okay, let's make this bridge nice and long. we're really benefiting from the greater fishing power now. So the reason I'm in space is because I'm looking to fish up sky crates. These contain items such as the red balloon for increased jump height, the lucky horseshoe for fall damage mitigation, and, if I'm lucky, the fledgling wings, the only set obtainable in pre-hard mode. However, the principal item I'd like from these crates is the Star Fury, and the reason I want this now? Well, it's because our next stop is going to be back down in the underworld for a 100 health, no armor, expert mode wall of flesh attempt. I'll explain my reasoning for this later, but for now, let's get fishing. Perfect. That's an important item to get ticked off. Let's push on. But I didn't have to push on much further, as before sunrise the same night, I got an even more important item. Sky crate? Well, that's our Star Fury. We've been very, very lucky there. I mean, I've got a wooden fishing pole with the grasshopper as bait, fishing in glitched lava a tile deep. I mean, this grind could have easily taken hours. Okay, so, as mentioned, it's now time to start Wall of Flesh prep. But first I'll explain why I'm doing this. On a normal skyblock run, the next steps would now be to gear up and grind to at least 200 health from fishing. This is done by getting the rare golden crates, which have a 1 in 8 chance of containing a life crystal. 200 health then allows the Eye of Cthulhu to spawn naturally, which in turn allows the Dryad to spawn. From here, you'd use the seed she sells to unlock new biomes, and then the items that comes with this. But the problem with doing this method is that getting 200 health from fishing with no angler and an early game rob and weak bait takes a very, very long time. We're talking hours and hours here. My plan then was doing the wall as soon as possible, aims to avoid this. You see, if we defeat the wall now, upon his defeat, he'll convert a V-shape on the map, one line to Crimson and one to Hallowed, giving us those biomes for free, and without the need for the Dryad. Further to this, as we're playing on the Celebration Seed, we'll have access to the Steampunk pre-mech, and hence we can buy a Clantaminator as soon as hard mode starts. This means we can also get a jungle biome if we use green solution on a crimsonified mud block. Now, if this all seems a bit convoluted, the summary is, I'm doing the Wall of Flesh now to avoid a brutal pre-hard mode fishing grind before I have angler access. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, this method is pretty much untested, so there is a lot to go wrong here. But anyway, let's begin. So that's all good in theory, but what's the plan to actually defeat the wall? I have 100 health, basically no defense, and bare bones accessories. Well, I'm going to be adopting a strategy that I discovered in my fishing-only master mode run. The gist of it is, if you fight the Wall of Flesh as close to the cave-in lair as possible, with a layer of blocks in between you and the wall, you can effectively block all his laser attacks, plus pretty much all the hungry, plus the leeches. Now, so to make this work, I basically needed two things. Firstly, to outrun the Wall of Flesh. That's where this pair of boots comes in. And secondly, the ability to hit through blocks, hence the Star Fury. Now, this should work in theory, but in practice it's going to be very, very tricky. My primary concern is the speed of the Wall of Flesh. In expert mode, he gets incredibly fast at low health. In my master mode fishing run, I dealt with this by being on the Lava Shark mount for the fight. This time, I'll have no such luxury. Second thing I think could cause big problems is monsters spawning on my bridge. Just a few hits from a Skeletron will probably kill me. But anyway, let's get building this bridge. Cool. I don't think we'll need to make it any longer. From experience, I'll have either defeated the wall or have died by this point. Ooh, okay. That does have better defense than our pumpkin one, although we would lose a 10% set damage bonus. Yeah, I don't think this is an upgrade. Anyway, let's get doll hunting and begin our first attempt. Nice, let's give this a go. By the way, if you're wondering why he's so small, that's just a quirk of the Celebration Seed. No major stats are changed. I mean, if anything, it makes the fight harder, especially with a Star Fury, as it's not the easiest weapon to aim. As mentioned, monsters on the bridge are a bit of a concern of mine. We seem to be dealing with them okay. Once the fight actually starts, spawn rates will decrease dramatically, so they shouldn't be a huge problem. Something else I've also got to be careful with is to try and not kill any of the eaters. If I defeat one, it will detach and start chasing me, which could be a problem. For a first try, this is going better than I thought. Sub 1000. From memory, he gets fast to sub 500. Yep. We could do this. This could be a first try. 12 health. I mean, I've had close wall of flesh fights before, but this really takes the cake. That's what we didn't want to do. It just creates a bit of a headache for us. So the last time I did this, leeches did become a bit of a problem towards the end of the fight. But I think this time we're just too high up for leeches to be a problem, which is good. Ah, that was bad timing. You know, I do feel with this fight there's more to keep track of than meets the eye. There's definitely a technique to getting consistent Star Fury hits, plus I've got to look out for monsters, plus keeping track of the hungry. Yeah, this fight is going to be pretty much won or lost in the last 5 seconds or so. It's just going to be a case of getting the final few Star Fury hits lined up perfectly to get the kill. The smaller hitboxes on the Celebration Seed are making this harder though. With the merchant. Ah. After getting distracted by shopping, I continued my attempts. I think that was just bad RNG there. I feel I did everything right. That's a bit ridiculous. I think what's happening in my more successful attempts is the hungry have spawned a bit lower, so they're blocking the stars left in my final few attacks. That's definitely something to watch out for. It's going to look like we'll need good hungry spawn RNG. That's incredibly unfortunate. Okay, so I'm wondering if the strat here is to get as far ahead as possible before the sub 500 health speed boost. From previous attempts we're getting 8-9 hits in this phase, and I think we pretty much need to hit every one to get a success. The angle's good. Come on. Nice, there we go. Okay, let's carefully bridge down. Nice. Okay, so I hadn't really tested this method at all prior to this, so I'm pretty relieved it worked well. So yeah, all you need for Wall of Flesh is boots and a Star Fury and some blocks. Anyway, hard mode. Let's push on. Cool, so with the wall's death, we should now have a Crimson and Hallowed biome ready-made for us. The jungle isn't quite as simple, which I'll get to in a bit, but first, I'm going to do a few things. Firstly, build some more houses, as I'd like a few more NPCs, specifically the Steampunker and the Princess. The Steampunker for the Clantaminator, as discussed, and the Princess for the Resonance Scepter, a very decent magic weapon, which she has a 12% chance to drop upon death. No spawns yet. I'm pretty sure if an NPC is a starting NPC on your seed, you don't need to meet the normal requirements for them to spawn. Yeah, because I had the Princess at the start of our no-block world. However, after AFKing for a bit longer, my worries were quashed. So normally you'd need a mech for the Steampunker, so that's good then. Dye Trader. Painter. A cool slime. A zoologist. After the arrival of a very eclectic group of guests, the Princess finally graced me with her presence. And I promptly killed her. I think the drop's about 10%, so we could have to do this a few times. Nice, got it. Nice, that's the hallowed biome. So if we head west now, we should encounter the crimson. Nice, good that's worked. Okay, so as mentioned, our next task is going to be getting the jungle biome. Now, we can't get jungle seeds or jungle solution directly. The way you get a jungle biome isn't that straightforward. You have to do it by purifying crimsonified mud blocks, which will then turn into jungle mud blocks. We can do the purifying with the contaminator, which we'll buy from the steampunker. In this case, spraying green solution on a crimson block acts as purifying it. So that's all good. But what's a bit less all good is we need to obtain a mud block without a water source. This is going to be tricky. Now we could attempt Skeletron to get into the dungeon, but I think with 100 health this still just won't work. So what's our plan then? Well, if we check the wiki, we'll see this. A dirt block can be converted into a mud block in water or at a sink. Okay, but sinks themselves need water to craft, so that's another dead end. Well, sinks do require a water bucket to craft. Apart from one, the golden sink. This is instead obtained from a pirate invasion as a drop, and is the only non-craftable sink. So my plan then is to head to the outer edge of the world and set up a lava trap farm there. Here, mobs have a 1 in 200 chance to drop a pirate map, the pirate invasion spawner. From there, I'll use the same farm to farm pirates, and hopefully get the sink, plus some other good items. Doing this will kill 2 birds with 1 stone, as doing the pirate invasion is good money, and should get us to 2 platinum for the contaminator. Okay, if we build it here, that's perfect. Cool, that should hopefully be enough then. Okay, so we've got our map, and we're back at our farm, but as you can see, we can't use it. This is because a requirement to spawn the invasion is to have over 200 health, which we don't have. So has this been a waste of time then? Well, no, not quite. You see, if we check the requirements more closely, we'll see at least 1 player in the world must have a nexus of 200 health, which means if a player with sufficient health joins our world, we can use it just fine on this character. So, perfect, okay. So just before I use this map, I'm going to try and make an NPC town to our right, as the way a pirate invasion works is they stop at the first town they reach, so this should allow us to stay at our farm here. So it's now the next day, we're back in the farm, and as you can see the NPCs have moved in. So if we try the map now, nothing. But when our friend joins, perfect. Let's try and get this sink then. Yeah, forgot about him. Okay. So I've been waiting for around 5 minutes and the pirates haven't come back yet. Could have just despawned. You do sometimes get weird mechanics on artificial worlds like this. But yeah, no sign of them. That's strange. Okay, so I've just been checking the wiki and I think I know what's happened. The pirates approach from the east or west and make their way to the world spawn. Now, spawn's normally the map center, but as this is a celebration world, the true spawn is actually in the ocean biome. And I think in this case, the world's true spawn must be on the right side of the map. For the purpose of this video, I changed my spawn to the map center. So what's happening is the pirates came from the west, traversed the whole map, and I think should now be in the far east. And, well, my whole we need to build a town here was a complete red herring. I think in the past I'd always assumed they homed in on towns, as my town base also coincidentally happened to be at the world spawn. Also I feel this just conceptually makes more sense, like pirates looting and pillaging and stuff. Okay, so anyway, plan now is to go to the complete other side of the map and try to get some kind of lava trap set up. But this is going to be a bit of a pain though with 100 health. Maybe fishing wasn't such a bad idea after all. If my theory is correct, we should see them soon. Nice, okay. I think this works. I don't really want to kill a pirate captain again though, so I'm not going to put lava down this time. Ooh, a bed. That's huge actually. The time skip will be great, especially for the jungle later. Toilet? That's good for fishing. So I think we've got pretty much every single furniture item now, apart from the sink. Let's get our friend back in the server and have another go. You know, even taking out the fact we might get a sink, pirates are actually a pretty good shout for Skyblock, as I don't think it's possible to get a bed from another source. As it's looking like we might actually run out of maps here, I'm going to move the farm further right, so it's in the ocean biome. This should allow us to get pirate map drops from pirates themselves. That's 5 invasions dry now. Finally, it actually exists. Not a bad haul at all. Okay, so it's finally time to get started on the jungle. I'm going to make an underground jungle first, as that's most important to us. So before we get crimsonifying and purifying, we need lots of dirt. Instead of just digging up our map, I'm going to use a little trick with dirt bombs. These cost 25 dirt to make, but yield around 50 when mined out, giving us a convenient, infinite dirt source. Cool, so now let's head underground and put this sink to work. Nice, that should be enough. So the next step is to turn this into crimson. I could wait for a blood moon, where the steampunker sells red solution, but something I can do now is head to the crimson, get some mushrooms, and then turn these into vile powder. So we need a placed bottle to make vile powder. I don't think there was one naturally in the dungeon. We could make a heavy workbench and craft one, but that would mean we'll need to fish again for iron bars, which will be a pain. Okay. Oh, okay. What about a cup? I think we can do that. Wow, that Dynasty wood we bought for like 50 copper at the start of the run has really saved us here. And there's a vile powder. Let's finally get this jungle. Oh. So I've made a terrible mistake. So, mud blocks can't be crimsonified directly. The only way we can crimsonify these mud blocks is by planting crimson seeds sold by the Dryad. This is why our vile powder, and also red solution, is doing nothing here, because mud blocks are immune from direct crimsonification. Well, that's a bit of a setback, man. I mean, I solved this exact problem in my empty world run. Apologies, viewers, for deceiving you and wasting your time here. So I've been looking at the wiki, and I think our only option here, outside of fishing, is to try and defeat Skeletron. This will give us the Dryad, who in a graveyard biome, in Hardmode, will sell corruption seeds, which we can then plant in the mud, and then convert these into jungle grass with our Clantaminator. However, even with our pirate staff and resonant scepter, defeating an expert mode Skeletron without any major glitches is still going to be very hard. Anyway, let's begin the setup. Before we head to the dungeon, I'm going to get a few things from the princess. First, some heart lanterns for regeneration, and secondly, the coin gun, a celebration seed exclusive sale. I've never used this item, as I've never got it, but it could just make the difference here. I think either way this fight will be a quick one. My build currently is the definition of a glass cannon. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much how I thought it would go. With an hours-long fishing grind looking ever more likely, I investigated some more creative Skeletron strategies as a last resort. So I found this design that involves using a minecart track to try and dodge most of Skeletron's attacks. It'll be a bit of effort to set up, but fortunately minecart tracks are very cheap to make. 1 iron bar plus 1 bit of wood gets you 50. So we should just about have enough resources from what we've fished up, plus the wood we got from our dungeon chest, to make enough. Should be enough. Okay, so I'm going to try this, but if it doesn't work, then we're going fishing. That's kind of working. Let's give it a go. It's a start. I think we need to build an on-ramp, then alter the position of this part a bit. Okay, that's working better. So I've changed the setup a bit, and I think also the best build to go with here is the Resonance Scepter, as it's so easy to aim. I think this is possible then. So looking back at the footage, we actually died to a possessed armor there. I just don't have the will to move the tracks higher up, so I'm just going to build a town here to lower the monster spawn rates. Nice. So that's Skeletron with 100 health, pre-Eye of Cthulhu. So now the Dryad should be able to move in. We'll then put her in a graveyard biome, where we'll buy corruption seeds, then we'll get a Contaminator, and finally our jungle. If we visit the Dryad now, perfect. Then the Contaminator, nice. Perfect. So we've got jungle, but at what cost? So we're potentially the first person to get a jungle biome on a pseudo skyblock map in Terraria without having to fish for life crystals. After this sad realization, I got to work making a full underground jungle biome. Okay, so we've got a few good options for what to do next. Loot the dungeon, farm in the jungle for a bit, or make some more biomes. Now, after a bit of consideration, I'm going to stay here in the jungle to farm, but perhaps not for an item you'd expect. You see, the item I want the most now is not a Yellet, or a Cobalt Shield, or even a Rod of Discord. It's a sand block, and here in the underground jungle is the only place I can get one. But first, why do I want a sand block? Well, it's probably time I got some decent armor and upped my hit points, and the best? Well, only way to do this is via crates from fishing. Hard mode crates contain hard mode ores and bars, and gold crates rarely contain life crystals. To fish up crates fast, I need fishing gear and potions, and to get these, I need the angler. Now, the angler has two very simple spawn conditions. He must be in the ocean biome, and he must be on a sand block, hence our need for one. So how do we get a sand block from the jungle then? Not a famously sandy place. Well, the answer again lies in the celebration seed we're playing on. In celebration seeds, jungle mimics can spawn. These have a special attack in which they spit out lots of junk items, one of these being sand, the only way to obtain them in a skyblock world. So that's our plan then, coax the jungle mimic to attack us and get some sand. There's only one slight problem with this though. I'll have to be alive in the underground jungle next to a jungle mimic for a reasonable amount of time. Now, I did this same grind on my nothing world, and it was a nightmare then with 4 times the health and armor, so I'm going to have to come up with something new here, and I'm not sure what just yet. So I think the best strat here is to not even try to bother to kill stuff, and similar with our lava slimes, just relog to refresh spawns. well, we haven't died instantly. You know, there's a small chance we might get it first try here. Oh, we've got it, no way. From past experience, we've been really, really lucky not to die here. Alongside us not getting hit, he also did his block attack pretty early in his attack cycle, which is again lucky. Okay, so before we go to the ocean, we can use a little trick here to get a few more sand blocks. If you place these, and then use our contaminator, it should go to sand as well. Okay, 3 sand. Let's hope this is enough for a spawn. I mean, I think we only need 1, so we should be fine. Now we wait. My working assumption is the more sand blocks, the greater his spawn chance. So my guess is we could be here for a while, but we'll see. So I think similar to the jungle mimic, the best strat here is to repeatedly relog to refresh the spawns. That's day 1, nothing yet. Day 2. Still nothing. This could be a few things to be fair. The small amount of sand could be making his spawn chance really low, and hence we should just keep at it. It could be NPC spawns work a bit differently, and all this reloading isn't really doing anything. It could be he needs water. This is what I did in my empty world run, although the general consensus after that video seems to be I didn't need to do that. Okay, I think the move here that makes the most sense is to head to the jungle for more sand. Worst case scenario, we'll just have more sand, which we'll need anyway later in the run. Okay, that took about an hour. As I suspected, we got quite lucky getting it first time. That should be 6 more sand though. Let's get back to the ocean and see. Okay, so still nothing. Just out of superstition really. I'm going to move the sand blocks to the other side of the map, just to see if it makes a difference. There he is. Oh, that took so long. I think the process of getting sand there, then grinding for the spawn, has potentially been the longest grind I've ever done in this game. That was painful. Alright, I can't do that quest, but I don't care. Okay, let's get you a house. Okay, so before we start quests properly, my first task is going to be making some more biomes. I'm going to get an overground jungle, underground hallow, underground crimson, and just a plain vanilla underground. And that is the overground jungle. We can't actually get an underground crimson yet, as we need a blood moon for the seeds, and I don't think the angler gives corruption quests on a crimson world, so there's no point in that. So we're almost ready to start. We just need to sort out the liquid we'll be fishing in. We could do the same trick with lava as we did earlier, but this is a bit cumbersome to set up. What I'm going to try and do instead though, is head into the dungeon and look for a water trap. Now I don't know if these are in every dungeon. They might especially not be in ours, as I don't think it ported perfectly, but I'm going to have a look anyway, as water is preferable here than to doing a lava glitch again. Oh, we might have a trap here. And it's water, perfect. Okay, so we'll come back and properly loot the dungeon later, but for now let's get making some ponds. So after the longest procrastination in history, it's now eventually time to start fishing seriously. Before we start though, I'm going to upgrade my rod. I don't have any iron bars currently, but I do have iron ore from slimes. And this is another reason why the jungle is so important this run. As, don't ask why, but when the merchant's in the jungle, he'll sell you a furnace. Okay, let's get questing. That's going to be one of a few quests we can't do on this world, which is going to make this grind longer. Fortunately, we do have a bed though. I think for ocean fishes we need a bigger pond. Double jump, perfect. Nice. Nice. Okay, so that's all for quests. So now we have high fishing power and lots of potions to go with it. We're going to begin the grind for 400 health and hard mode armor. Armor-wise, I'd at least like a full set of tier 1 ore armor, palladium or cobalt. Tiers 2 and 3 are a bit harder, as we can't get a titanium forge. If we want, say, titanium armor, we'd have to get the set purely from bars. The ores wouldn't be useful to us, which, from experience, takes some time, and it may be the case we get 400 health first. There is a trick with lava fishing to speed this up, which I'll maybe get into later, if we need it. First life crystal. We can now get blood moons. Reaver shark. Loon pufferfish. Frog's legs. After getting most of the quick, easy upgrades fairly quickly, I prepared myself for what was still to be, even with our gear, a very long grind. That should almost be enough for full mithril. Well, that's definitely enough for a cobalt set now. Let's get an anvil first. You know, let's mix things up a bit and play mage this run. It'll make my life harder, but let's go for it. And I think that's enough for full titanium armor. You have been pretty lucky with bars. And there it is, full health, with full titanium armor. That should be fishing pretty much done for the run now. That took longer than other runs have done. I think we just got some bad rolls in regard to life crystals. I mean, the water volume would have been big enough. Volume, area, they're not quite sure what to say when it's a 2D platformer. Anyway, the next job's the mechs. These won't spawn naturally, so we'll have to rely on the 1,500 spawner drops. We've already got a twin spawner, so I think I'm going to have a go at them first, before we farm for more. We'll get an arena set up in a bit, but first, I'd like a few items. We don't need this now, but we will later, for Golem. think that's as prepared as we're going to be. Just a reminder, we've got 1 twin spawner already, but we'll have to get the other 2, or maybe 3 depending on how this goes, from drops, which I'll get into in a bit. That wasn't great. A smaller size on the celebration seed does make things a bit harder, I think. Anyway, this just means we'll need to farm an extra spawner, or 2. Anyway, the farm. I'm going to use a similar design to what I used in my empty world run. The design of this farm uses the emptiness of this world to our advantage. Essentially, it forces spawns in a certain space, then uses the hoik mechanic to push them here. I'm setting up an underground hallowed biome, as on top of the mech spawners, I can get 2 more items I'd like from here. Firstly, the hallowed key. This will give me the rainbow gun post Golem, and as I've decided I'm apparently playing mage now, this is one of the few endgame-ish mage weapons we can get. Secondly, I'd also like a Rod of Discord. This is dropped rarely from Chaos Elementals, and will come in useful in later boss fights, as lots of top tier wings aren't available to us. Okay, so that's enough for a hallowed biome. So before we start, to actually get Chaos Elemental spawns, we have to do a few extra steps. You see, they only spawn on pearl stone blocks, which I think we got a few of from the jungle mimic. Yeah, nice. We can also place down a few regular stone blocks, and the hallowed should spread. So also for Chaos Elemental spawns, we need to be attacking or doing an action constantly, which does make this farm not fully AFK unfortunately. Although, even without that, we still need to be on the lookout for hallowed mimics. Nice, there's a rod. We've got pretty lucky there to be fair. And that's 5 spawners. That should be enough for full hallowed armor. Plus we could probably even afford a death or 2. So it's just the key left. Okay, so I've got more than enough spawners now. So I think I'm going to leave the key for now and come back for it later if we need it. So that means it's time to head back to the surface for some mecha tents. So I'm going to go for a bit of a different build this time. Firstly, let's use this eye spawner we got. The dash here should be useful. Secondly, I'm going to switch out my boots for some frog legs, just for the faster acceleration. Nice. Okay, this tears through him. Okay, that should be enough for hallowed armor. And yeah, as we don't have a hell forge, and hence not a titanium forge, this is the best armor we can get pre-Moonlord, which when playing mage, as we are, doesn't give us much defense. Okay, there's nothing more I want from hallowed bars really, but let's use the rest of these spawners, as we could get a wings drop from a dev set, which would be an upgrade. Okay, so this is the fight I'm most worried about. Firstly, because it's the hardest, and secondly, as we only have 1 spawner, a death here means a potentially hours-long grind. Close one. Okay, let's go for the head. Nice. Cool, so there's not really many upgrades we can get right now. Most of those will come from the post-Plantera dungeon, so it's going to be straight to the jungle, I think, to expand it for life fruit and to find a certain bulb. I was wrong about there being no pre-Plantera upgrades. One I might be able to get is the rainbow rod. The main pain here is the 10 crystal shards it requires. These grow on pearl stone blocks underground, which we currently only have about 10 of from the jungle mimics. Well, there are a few here. Hopefully we'll get 10 in the time it takes to farm life fruit. These will come in useful later actually. Perfect, we're getting a load more here. Almost there. 2 more after this, I think. Nice, there we go. Okay, let's get this arena set up. You can see when I briefly left the jungle there, Plantera sped up, which means she's enraging, which we do need to be careful of. Nice. There's nothing we really want from Plantera, but let's go again just in case we get wings. So it's now time to finally enter the dungeon. There are 4 magic weapons on offer for us here, 5 if you count the rainbow gun. However, I'm only really going for one, the Spectra Staff, as it's pretty good this patch. But if I'm honest, I'm not sure any really outclass my Resonance Scepter, which, yeah, is way more powerful than I initially thought. I guess that does make sense though, as on a normal world it would be post-Golem. Utility-wise, I'll pick up a shield, either Cobalt or a Paladin's, and I wouldn't say no to a Bone Feather. Wings upgrade is always nice. I can't get Master Ninja gear, as you can't get shoe spikes on a Skyblock world, and I already have a dash in the form of my shield, so I don't really need a tabby. Despite the fact I'm playing Mage, Ectoplasm also has no use for me. Spectra gear requires Chlorophyte bars, which require an Adamantite forge, which we can't get. One thing I could craft is a Pumpkin Moon Medallion, but the only thing useful to us from that is a Bat Scepter, and I don't really think it's worth it, to be honest. So with all that said, the loot from the dungeon all sounds a bit underwhelming. You might be wondering why I even included it, when this run probably could have been done on a Superflat world without surface structures. Well, you see, the most crucial thing the dungeon contains isn't an item or a monster, it's an NPC, the mechanic. Without the mechanic, I won't be able to spawn Golem, and without Golem, the run's not possible. I'll explain all later, but first, let's get some items. As our most important find, we could just leave now to be fair, but let's get farming. I think this is the wall type we want for the Spectra Staff. Shadow Beam, we've somehow managed to get every other magic weapon except the Scepter Staff, all despite being behind the right wall type. There we go, eventually. We were very unlucky there. I've got a Paladin shield, plus all the other magic weapons. Still no Bone Feather, but I'm not desperate for that, so let's leave it. I think it's time to prep for Golem. So why do I need the mechanic to spawn Golem? Well, in Skyblock, there's no normal way to obtain a Lizard Altar or Power Cell, which means we have to employ a method that's, well, not so normal, and one that requires wiring to set up, hence the mechanic. The method I'm employing is known as Transmutation, a trick that manipulates the way the game handles sprite changes when an item itself changes state. Furniture items are stored in spreadsheets, so when, say, a torch goes from off to on, or a bastard statue from deactivated to activated, the game shows the new sprite by shifting the display along by a set amount of pixels. Transmutation works by replacing the item changing state with another item, usually a door, but then tricking the game into thinking the original item is still there. Then, when the original item is deactivated, the door's sprite is shifted by a certain amount of pixels, instead of the original item's sprite, giving us a new item. Now, there's lots more to say on this, and I probably haven't explained it particularly well, but for now, all we need to know is, if we replace the bar statue with a slime door, and then deactivate it 17 times, the item we'll be left with is a Lizard Altar. Do the same with a Martian door, and we'll get a Lizard Power Cell. Now, to pull this off, we'll need these items. We can get these for free from the mechanic. Plus we can craft a trapdoor. We've got sandstone from the jungle mimic. And we've got a solidifier from the king slime, so we can hence make a slime door. This leaves two problematic ones, the bast statue and the Martian door. Firstly, the bast statue. The only way we can get this is from fishing up oasis crates in a desert biome. To make an artificial desert, we need 1,500 sand blocks. Currently we have about 5, which took us over an hour to get from jungle mimics. Getting 1,500 from this method alone would, well, be a horrible grind. So what's the plan then? Well, I'm going to use another little trick here. If we place 2 teleporters like this, then an item frame as so, and if we break the teleporters and put the sand in the item frame, you'll see, conveniently, our sack has doubled in size. Perfect. That's that problem, rather cheekily solved. Nice. That was quick. Now, the Martian door. We can't get a Martian invasion, as it's post-Golem, so the only solution here is to use Transmutation itself to get a Martian door, to then use in further Transmutation for the cell. Now, if that wasn't complicated enough, we can't actually get the door from a direct transmute, at least not starting from a bast statue. So what we'll need to do is, we can transmute an iron door into a single Martian conduit block, and then use the same teleported item frame trick to dupe it, and then craft it into a door. Perfect. So that's all the items. Now for the setup. If I recall correctly, we go up 3 here, then 3 across, 5 down, and then 3 across. Then we put the trapdoor here, 2 sand above it, then block swap sand here, then place the bast. Now this is the slightly tricky part. We need to do another block swap at the bottom left, and then place the sandstone immediately after. This is where we confuse the game on the state of the bast statue. Cool. So now if we place the slime door here, and then reactivate the bast statue, we should start to see some new items. Perfect. Okay. Nice, there we go. So this one's going to be a bit more complex, as it's a much longer chain, which also means there's many more opportunities to slip up. Okay, I'm hoping I've done my research right here. This is taking absolutely ages. It's also a very easy block to miss, which I'm also a bit concerned about. However, just as I was about to throw in the towel... Oh, nice. Okay, let's press this carefully. Got it, perfect. So for my final trick, I'm going to turn this Martian door into a lizard power cell. From memory, this chain shouldn't be too long. Perfect. Time for Golem. Now, we could fight Golem in the jungle, so he doesn't enrage, but I think our gear's good enough not to worry, to be fair. Nice. I think that's a wings upgrade. Yeah, perfect. So I don't think we need to do any more Golem. There is the heat ray, which I'm not too fussed about, to be fair. So it's now time for the cultist. My main concern here is actually if they've spawned properly. In my empty world run from a few months ago, I spent hours and hours trying to get them to spawn. Their spawn conditions are much more specific than those for the old man, so it can be a bit fiddly getting them to spawn in a world like this. Ah, nice. So they've spawned, which is good, but not quite in the right place. Oh, my spores are killing them. let's go for it then. We're one hit away. Nice. That was a fun fight. Definitely would have died there if I was playing Master Mode. So first stop's going to be the Nebula Pillar for the 2 endgame magic weapons, which we can actually get. So I don't really expect to beat the Moon Lord this fight. We get another go as we can craft the spawner, as there's one last thing I'd like to get first. So you may remember me saying that I'm not going to do the Pumpkin Moon as there was nothing good I could get from it. Well, that was very wrong, as locked behind it is the item that's crucial for finishing this playthrough, the Witch's Broom, an expert mode exclusive drop from the Morning Wood. To beat Moonlord, we need consistent speed in the horizontal direction, plus a way of dodging the death rays. Our Rod of Discord, we grinded for previously, achieves the latter, but in terms of horizontal speed, our wings just aren't good enough, and also just don't give us enough flight time to dodge properly. To remediate this, there are a few things I could do. There's the Soaring Insignia from the Empress, but that's a hard fight. Then there's a Flying Saucer from the Martian Madness, which again is another very tricky fight in expert mode. This then pretty much leaves the Witch's Broom. It's a drop from a fairly easy boss, and I think is the best option for infinite flight and also that horizontal speed we need. So, well, let's go and get it. Nice. Perfect. And that was defeating Terraria Superflat. Thank you once again for watching.